and roll. Welcome back to the PT Graduate Podcast. My guest today is Mr. Dan O'Brien. Welcome, Dan.
Cheers. How's it going, Rich?
Yeah, good, thanks. Yeah, great, great. It's good to connect. Second time we've had a chat, so you're not a complete stranger, which is always nice. I do have people on here who I have actually never met, so it's always good to reconnect. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Dan, and how you got into the industry. I've sort of got a small set of information. You've leave a very light footprint on the internet, so
Yes.
I'm gonna need to pick your brains on the gaps. So you tell us. You started in Canterbury, right?
Yeah, born in Christchurch,
Yeah.
studied exercise science, went to the States for a year, did
Ah,
athletic performance over there, came back to Dunedin, did my postgrad down there,
yeah.
then kind of just traveled around, moved from Christchurch up to Auckland. Now I'm in Brisbane.
Mm, mm. And there's a few other, yeah, you've skipped over some bits that I have got some information on. So tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about, so yeah, maybe tell us a bit about that US year, and then we'll come back to the
Yep.
other bits I've got. Yeah, what did that entail? Or was that part of your studies, or did you literally stop, do that year, and then carry on again?
Nah, so in my third year, I headed over there and I got like a grant to go study at Appalachian State for a year and
Yeah.
then just literally study sports science over there. Did some Div 1 interning for strength and conditioning teams. Really good experience.
Mm,
Good to learn, how they run things over there. It's a bit more in your face as
mm.
opposed to like New Zealand industry is a bit more like laid back.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They've got all the tech, all the gear, haven't they?
Yeah, there's a lot of money in S&C over there.
Yeah. So, any particular sports was it? What was it? Was it football?
Yeah, women's football, men's
Yeah.
golf. I did a little bit of track and field, did cheerleading for a little bit, a whole bunch of. I pretty much just said yes to everything
Good
as
on you.
as you want to early
Yeah.
on in the days.
Yeah. 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 So you just soak it all up.
Yeah, and just show essentially the people that are running it. This guy is committed.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. What was your biggest takeaway from that year?
Um, Definitely the different structure of how they run things in S&C over there. Essentially, before I'd gone over there, I was doing some stuff at Christ College, interning there, and it was a lot different in terms of the seriousness of you go into training, you train because you want to be professional in a couple of years,
Mm,
whereas in
mm.
Christ College, it's more about learning, developing as an athlete.
Right. Right. And differences in the sport in terms of the different sports and the way they do things, between the golf, the football.
In terms of S&C, there's definitely the demands of the sport, the physiological demands of the sport are a lot different.
Mm,
In general, I kind of found with college athletics, it was like you're preparing this body to get as powerful as possible or as fast as possible. Whereas in, say, professional sport, like what I've done with some basketball teams in Christchurch and Otago, it's more like you're trying to keep them away from getting injured. So
ah.
there's a drastic difference between kind of how you program and structure your programs throughout the year with regard to that.
So it's almost like one's for optimization and one's for reducing minimization, almost, the minimize being the worst injury.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Essentially, like how I kind of saw it was if you're already pro, you need to be available as an athlete, so you need to keep playing. Whereas if you're on the brink of becoming a pro, you're trying to get that little extra, 2-3% performance gains to get you there.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, interesting. Okay. Um, and so with that, with year under your belt, what was it just a learning process, or was it to actually bring some things back so that you could incorporate into what you do?
It was definitely a learning process in terms of learning under some really good S&Cs and seeing how they kind of thought about programming, about exercise selection. It definitely brought back more confidence when I was leading sessions, for example, like group sessions. Before I went over there, had minimal experience, leading like a group of 40.
Yeah.
And then I remember like vividly the first time my mentor over there was just like, you're gonna run, you got to have a coach's voice. And I had no idea what, that confidence to like yell or, lead like a big group, and then got thrown in the deep end, stuffed it up real bad. But then
Oh
after
yeah.
that, it was kind of like, okay, I know how to work this now. It comes with more reps, more confidence, and then brought that back into New Zealand and
Brilliant. Yeah.
could run that sort of stuff quite easily.
Yeah, good, good. So it's just sort of exposing yourself to those environments, isn't it? And picking up the skills that are required for that specific team or group or squad or whoever they are.
Yeah, and I always kind of think when someone that is mentoring you, or you're kind of like learning off someone that's been in the industry for quite a while, it's like they were in your position X amount of
Mm,
years ago. So they were
mm,
never good at what they were or what they are at right now. So they were also bad at the start. So they're not trying to stitch you up. They're trying to
mm.
make you learn what needs to be learned so that you can become a better coach.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that they can put themselves in your shoes, which
Yeah.
is a good thing, really good thing. And then I suppose that serves you for the future, right? One day you'll probably be in their shoes, helping someone else starting off.
Yeah, literally.
So then, director of athletic performance at Vertex, does that follow on from there?
Yes. That's when I came back after postgrad. So I went and did postgrad in Otago, then came back up to Christchurch, worked for the University of Canterbury, and
Right.
then just through network found Vertex with Charles, really good mate of mine now, worked together and sort of he was already running it, and then yeah, kind of fell into that spot, became a co-owner, did that for a little bit, good experience, learnt about the business side of running a gym,
Mm,
lead generation, all that jazz that is really important, as you'd know.
mm, mm, mm. So tell me a bit more about Vertex. Is that's obviously a Christchurch-based gym? Is it a gym or does it do other things?
So it was a high altitude training gym. We had a hypoxic chamber,
Yeah.
and we would just do altitude training for high level athletes. And then I sort of came along, brought more of like an athletic performance side to it. So we did one-on-one S&C training for a whole range of athletes.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and so where did the um, altitude component come in for particular athletes?
Yeah, good question. So essentially, there's some there's like differing research around altitude training for endurance athletes. We
Yeah.
used it as a supplement for team sport athletes. So instead
Ah,
of doing on-field foot training, essentially we
mm,
just put them on the bikes. It's just a different stressor that you're acting on the body.
yeah, yeah. So the chamber simulates in different altitudes, and I presume you can set the chamber to whatever altitude you want.
Yeah, we found the sweet spot around, I think it was like 14% oxygen, 3,500 meters, I think, or 3,200. And that
Yeah.
was like a good enough stimulus for athletes to go on there and do conditioning, whether it be, like 60 on, 30 off, or different sets of like pyramids or anything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so then they come out of the chamber and then they're back on the road cycling or whatever it may be, and the benefits kick in or
Yeah, it's just an
have.
easier way to stress the body
Mm,
from a different side of like, so it's not getting some rugby players out in the field doing Broncos where they're still stressing the joints and the muscles.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so could almost be considered like a recovery version of a challenge.
Yeah.
There's some of those things are taken away. So is that something that's broadly done, and the whole altitude training? I know it's a thing, but I haven't come across it very much in New Zealand.
Yeah, it's not very, I don't think it's, I think Vertex was the only place that did it. I think
Oh,
it's very popular for high level athletes. It's obviously very popular for people that are trying to acclimatize to, say, going for a hike. But
right.
in terms of normal, not normal, but like, everyday athletes, it's not very popular.
Mm, So you'd certainly get a select type of customer coming through the door.
Yeah.
And I suppose the athletes might be referred to you via their association or club, whereas your
Yeah.
everyday people would only find you because they're specifically looking for altitude training.
It was mainly the main things were one, affiliating with clubs. That was a good way to get rugby players
Yeah,
in.
yeah,
The second was, yeah, people finding us through like acclimatization for hiking or trekking. And then the third way was someone just coming in word of mouth, checking it out and going, this is pretty fun. I'll bring my
mm,
mates.
mm. No, I see. I suppose you want everybody, don't you? But so someone wanting to
Yeah.
go to base camp, for example, would go, "Oh, look, I've got base camp in 3 months. What can you do to help me?"
Yeah. Come in here every day, essentially. That's what we used to say.
In the chamber. So would there be a bit of a bottleneck? Like, were you able to sort of keep up with demand in terms of like the capacity that this chamber would allow?
Yeah, so essentially it was airtight. So there was a maximum amount of people. I think it was maybe nine or 10.
At once,
Then it would
nine or
just
ten
get
at
quite
once.
humid.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say that would change things, wouldn't it, with that number of bodies compared to say one body, um,
Yeah.
and how you'd have to manage the conditions in there.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact way that the hypoxic chamber worked, but it used to change, I think, oxygen to hydrogen or something of that nature. So it would get super humid
Yeah,
and the walls would just be drenched.
dripping. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So the
yeah,
more people in there, the higher body temperature, the overall more humidity in the room.
yeah, 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 yeah. They'd heat it up pretty quick. Fascinating stuff.
Mm.
I remember at the Millennium there was a hydration. One of the companies which I've forgotten the name of did a hydration test. Did some proper clinical research, and I was involved with running on a treadmill, and they put us into a similar chamber. Don't think it was necessarily at altitude, but it was just so that they could control the conditions for the research. So
Oh yeah.
I'm wondering whether the Millennium had that ability to create the altitude as well for some of their Olympic athletes.
Yeah, I think the last time I checked, University of Canterbury were looking at getting on their new gym.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So they're starting to pop up a little bit more, become a little bit more mainstream. So you
Mm.
guys were sort of ahead of the curve. You and your business partner would have been sort of groundbreaking stuff, I imagine, for more mainstream.
Yeah, it was very niche. I think it was a little bit. There obviously needs to be a little bit more like basic knowledge around it
Mm,
for like the everyday person to go, okay, maybe I would give this a go.
mm. Yep, yep. That would have made you work hard with your marketing dollars in terms of how you get that message out there, I
Yeah,
imagine. So what
yeah,
happened after that?
definitely.
Tell me about. So am I? Tell me if I've got that
So
timeline. Is it New Zealand football?
yeah, so I did a little bit for New Zealand football, running their regional training camps for the under 17 team. So essentially, that all that was they would every month send all their South Island players to Christchurch, we would run them through strength conditioning on field for 3 or 4 days each month.
Right.
Then what I would do is then train some of them 1-to-1 at Vertex.
Oh, right. Okay. And so did they select who came to see you at Vertec, or how did they decide?
Nah, so I just started that on my own, as it was essentially kind of like a lead funnel, you could
Okay.
say.
Okay. I see. Smart. And
Yeah.
then Otago Gold Rush.
Yes, I worked for the Gold Rush down when I was doing my postgrad, and that was a head S&C role for their NBL1 basketball team. So I was
Ah,
running the ladies, doing S&C for them,
yeah,
and that
yeah.
was for that year, which was a pretty cool experience.
And so what category does that team sit in with basketball?
That's the top women's league in New Zealand. So I think they would have changed the structure of how NBL's run now, but they were the top team in Otago.
Ah, got you. So they competed with t other teams in the major cities.
Yeah, it's like the Wildcats. I think the Auckland, can't remember their name, but yeah, Waikato, Wellington, etc.
Got you. Okay, doesn't get as much exposure, does it? I'm not familiar with the names.
Nah, so yeah, basketball is getting there. Couple more years, it'll be the
Yeah,
most popular sport, I reckon.
really. Certainly,
Yeah,
participation numbers are massive, aren't they? I do know that because my son played a while
yeah.
back, and the numbers are just like that compared to rugby, football, all other sports.
It's just an easy sport that it's not hard on your body. It's very skillful that you can learn. You can just be a shooter if you want, You
Yeah.
can do any sort of facet of the game and enjoy
Mm.
it. You can play it socially. You can play it competitively if you like.
Yeah, yeah. And then this might not be in the right order, but you've got S&C Otago Boys High.
Oh yeah, that was a part of my postgrad as well. I did a little bit of work with their men's basketball team.
Yep.
And yeah, essentially all my postgrad work was done with basketball.
Ah, got you. Okay. So did that involve some sort of study as well as obviously helping out? Were you gathering data at the same time?
No, so that was just an internship that I did
Right.
with those teams and essentially just ran their entire programs for that year.
Yeah, yeah. And so going back into the postgrad in more detail, so what was involved in that and how did it sort of cross over with what you'd done practically?
A lot of the one thing I did enjoy about the postgrad was it was a lot of hands-on work. So essentially, learning anatomy and physiology, doing athletic performance, conditioning on the field, learning about that side because a lot of, especially in sport, you really only learn about in gym stuff. So to get a better clue or essentially more analysis on how to run conditioning sessions, how to get a desired adaptation out of, doing MAS running or things of that nature for your football team, for your basketball team. That's the sort of hands-on stuff that I took from it, which was really good.
Brilliant. So you could have evidence to show what levers were the best ones to pull to get the outcomes required.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
And so, is there a lack of that evidence, or was it just looking at it in a different way, or why
I
was it
think
useful?
not. It's useful. There's not a lack of the evidence. It's just not a
Hmm.
lot of people learn about it. I think, especially in S&C, you focus so much on the strength and gym side of things, and you neglect the conditioning, which is just as important for an athlete or like their performance essentially. you kind of need two sides of the sword with that.
Yeah, yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, fascinating. I suppose it's a very specialized area, and yet all sporting codes need them and have them. So, what would your advice be to someone who's looking to get into that S&C arena, regardless of what sport they may be interested in?
I think the main thing that I found to be most beneficial when I was doing my studies was networking. I think being an opportunities person and saying pretty much yes to anything that comes up
Mm,
was what got me the the roles and the opportunities that I kind of flourished in.
interesting. Yeah. So you put yourself out there so that those were available to you. So it was a bit like the US, the year in the US. Was that a similar sort of thing that you were talking to the right person on the right day?
Yeah, pretty much just kind of obviously doing my background research to be like, okay, what are the possibilities? What are some things that are potentially possible that I could do with my studies? And then I kind of weaseled my way into meeting the right people.
Nice. You must have some more tips up your sleeve then, Dan. What 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 other things do you recommend to people? Maybe not necessarily just S&C, but networking is kind of a classic life skill for all industries, for all people in all jobs. So I like that one. I've got that one down in my notes. Any others that have stood the test of time or worked well for you?
Yeah, definitely. I would put networking right up there with one of the most important things of building like your business as a whole. I think
Yeah,
affiliating with other like-minded businesses, whether it be if you're a personal trainer and you
yeah.
go and affiliate with a supplement store,
Mm,
or if
mm,
you're a personal trainer and you go and affiliate with a chiropractor and you go, let's work together. We both have like-minded clients. How can we work something out that works for the benefit of our clients? I think
yeah.
that's really important in being able to offer essentially like another service that works in hand with your own.
Mm, mm. Absolutely. So that's sort of like you say, affiliating, but yeah, working together in a professional network.
Yeah, because I think a lot of, especially in the personal training industry, you go to a big box gym and you're new to the gym. There's 40 other trainers there, and there's a feeling of like you're in direct competition with them. But the overall arching idea of like your job as a personal trainer is to solve the client's problem. So you might not always be the perfect solution to their problem. So theoretically, what you should be doing is working with your colleagues to, develop yourselves or affiliate or yeah, essentially networking on with their services because they might be a better fit. And then that will be reciprocal in the long run when you kind of find your niche or you build a strong relationship with, say, a group of personal trainers or like-minded, businesses where you just work together as a group.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Brilliant. Duly noted. I'm going to add those to the show notes. Any other final tips there, Dan?
I think the main thing I was talking to my boss about this the other day, and I'm like doing professional development at the moment, and I'm going, I'm learning as much as I can about anatomy, how the muscles move, the insertions, whatever, so I can program better.
Yep.
I was asking, what more can I do in terms of like developing myself faster? And he
Mm,
was like, the three things that you as an exercise scientist or you as anyone in the health and wellness industry need to work on is lead generation, coaching, and customer care. And those things you'll just keep doing till you finish like that's just three things that you'll never master. But if you keep
yeah,
working on them,
yeah,
you'll get better.
yeah, yeah. I like it. Those are the key essentials, aren't they? Just to bring the business in, to do a good job of the business, and then to maintain and keep the business.
Yeah. I
Mm,
think,
like,
yeah, learning that is just like, okay, I'm never like every single other thing will fall into that, where it's like lead generation, networking, affiliating with other businesses,
mm,
customer care is, learning what the avatar standing in front of you actually
mm,
wants, what problems they need to have solved. And then coaching could be anything from exercise selection, programming, their specific wants, their needs, to, things like actually coaching cues so they can feel the right muscles, so they can get more range of motion, in etc.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I like it. It's good. Your boss is onto it. Um,
Yeah.
what was I going to? Yes. So, what was on the top of my tongue, tip of my tongue was finding you. So, talking about the notes. How can people find you if they wanted to find out a little bit more about what you're doing, or pick your brains further? Where could they find you, Dan?
Yes, they can find me on my platform that I'm building at the moment called Connectify. It's Connectify NZ on social media, on LinkedIn, on YouTube. And essentially, what we're doing is building a platform where practitioners can go on and learn things about, the business side of being a personal trainer or being a practitioner, where they can also essentially generate leads on a platform once we've built it. And it's just going to be, yeah, a platform where someone can make an account so they don't have to run, their own social medias, or they have to have their own website. It's just a platform where you can have your own thing, where people can find you and reviews will be written about you from your own clients, new clients, etc.
Brilliant, brilliant, fantastic. Well, I'll drop a link to that in the show notes as well, Dan. Connectify.nz.
Connectify NZ.
NZ, no dot. Okay, brilliant. Oh, that's exciting. Oh, well, I hope that goes well. Sounds so you're building that as well as doing other things.
Yeah, always trying to work on my own things while working normal work.
I like it. I like it. Good on you. That's great. Oh, it's been great to chat, Dan. Thanks very much for sharing your time and some of those insights and some of the work that you've been doing. It's great to hear from different parts of the industry, not just the same old, same old. So yeah, much appreciated. Thanks.
No, thanks for having me, Rich. Let's
Cool.
keep in touch as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Dan. Take care.
Cheers. See ya.